Do you guys like glamping? Do you like having a tent so you can put your bike somewhere where you can totally go out and explore the wilderness? Do you just want to make all your friends jealous with one of the most incredible moto camping setups you've ever seen? Well, boy, do I have the tent for you. Generally, when it comes to moto camping, you are either bringing as much gear as you can to be comfortable or bringing an ultralight setup to pack away as small as possible. Well, the Lone Rider Moto Tent is arguably the most hyped tent on the market these days. We're gonna find out today if the cost and weight are worth all of the hype. This big guy right here is the Lone Rider Moto Tent, and I do mean big. At a compressed length of 24 inches by 8 inches in diameter and weighing more than 14 pounds, this guy is massive. Normally with a tent of this scale and this size, they are really, really complicated to set up. But with the Lone Rider Moto Tent, you only need about 5 minutes. Check this out. Here. All right, and after setup, as you guys can see, this thing is huge. With an overall length of 14 feet and a width of just shy of 8, it is frankly huge. That being said, if you're going to a built-out campground, something like this spot here, our local TWOs, Two Wheels of Suches, this tent is absolutely fantastic. But on those smaller, more dispersed sites, a little more wilderness style, it's gonna be hard to find a spot big enough. Now, having a really large tent and an easy setup is great, but if that's all this thing has going for it, it's not gonna be worth anything. But there's some extremely well thought out features you guys have gotta see. All right, and the first of these really cool features, it's actually these pockets right here. We've got 2 of them on the outer door. We've got a couple more on the inside. Secondary to that, we've got these little hangy guys. Now these are fantastic for hanging a camp light or even a fan for all my glampers out there. All right, now that we are inside this rather generously sized 2-person tent, there's a really important feature I want to talk about, and it is this black liner you see down here. It is a 10,000 millimeter waterproof tub, is basically how they've described it, to ensure that no matter how wet, soggy, and totally soaked the ground is, once you get set up, you and your gear will be dry. All right, and one of the big things about this 2-person tent is the amount of doors and the fact that you've got great mosquito nets both on both of these doors here, as well as the large one out back. Great features and colorful, bright poles are fantastic, but the really important thing for us adventure riders is how durable and tough all of our gear is. Now, if you're like me, you've been adventure riding for a long time, you're gonna have your spills on and off road. It happens, but with this absolutely fantastic ripstop material that Lone Rider built into this thing, it is tough as nails. All right, guys, so arguably my favorite part of this tent has gotta be the garage area, the big storage area. Not only is it great for setting up camp where you guys can sit in there and cook, chill out in your chairs, but just like with pets, it's the same with bikes. If you're cold, they're cold, you gotta bring them inside. All right, a tent this big does come with a rather large price tag at only $599. I know, I can hear you now.
Only $5.99. Petty Rick, we're not made out of money.
Joke's on you, neither am I. But I want to talk about who this tent is really for and why that really isn't that big of a price tag. So this tent is not for your just beginner adventure rider, not for somebody on a DRZ or a KX 250 or anything like that. This is for an adventure bike rider, somebody on a T7 or a Super Tenere or a Africa Twin, something like that, where you don't mind having a lot of extra weight on your bike, and in turn you do get a ton of comfort to go along with it. Now I say only $599 earlier because there are plenty of tents that are way more expensive just because they're ultra light. So this one isn't ultra light, but it does come with a huge amount of features that make it worth it in my book. So as per normal here on Moto Gear Show, I'm gonna give this guy a score out of 10 for what I think patty points is what I call them. So for the Lone Rider Moto Tent, I'm gonna go with a solid 8. It's not the best tent on the market in my opinion, but it is absolutely fantastic and it does everything I need it to do. That being said, I don't mind the weight, I don't mind the price tag, and I certainly don't mind the size. Putting it on my Super Tenere is easy. If you're an ultralight person, if you don't want all that weight and you frankly don't have the budget for it, I totally understand there are better options out on the market. But again, depends on who you are. All right, outro crew, I've got a quick question for you that's kind of a little bit of a joke. What color is this tent? Lone Rider claims that it's green. I think it's a little more gray. Personally, it just depends on kind of the lighting. But you tell me, green or gray? Let me know down in the comments below. It's been your boy Patty Rick here on Chase on Two Wheels, and this has been another episode of Moto Gear Show.